Welcome to the Deaf Kid Show. Let's go.
Hey, yo! Hey. Here he comes. Y'all ready? I don't think y'all ready. Jeff Key coming at you, the over-circumcised Jew. Travel the world telling jokes, eating eggs with no fucking yolks. Low-cal, so-cal, he pulls out the knife and he strips your gal. This is his podcast, maybe this one will last. Probably not the one that he's got. He's only half minor success. That's why he brought in D to the M to the X. He's finally about to blow. Welcome to the Jeff Key Show.
Oh, what's up, everybody? All right. Great stuff. I am back. I have not done a podcast in a while. Hopefully, this comes through and it's not all shitty because I don't know what my internet is like. I am in another country. I'm not doing a cruise ship. I know I do a lot of cruise ships, it seems like, lately, the last 4 or 5 months, 6 months. I'm not doing a cruise ship. I can't talk about it, but I'm writing on a television show for a network, major network, and very good career opportunity for me. And I'm just a few days in, but I got to be away from my family. I'm going to get to that in a second. Having a great time. It's such a stressful thing. Not really for me, but I could see for the other people for a TV show. It's like, my wife is texting me and saying like, oh, how's it going? And I'm like, I feel like I might get promoted or I also might get fired tomorrow. I have no idea what's going on. It's like, it's so hard to tell. I'm writing jokes for something, and 1 second all the people above me, the top people, are like cracking up like, this is amazing, this is great, and then the next second it's like, do we like this? And I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know. It's like I do stand-up, obviously, and in stand-up, I'll do a new bit and then I'll refine it and then I'm all proud of it and happy. I'm like, this is great, I'm so funny, right? This is like what goes through my head, and then I just hate the bit, and then that's like how it is. Like once you're familiar with something, you're not just going to be excited about it over and over again. You know what I mean? Even if music, I think is the thing you can stay excited about longer than anything else. You can hear a song you love and be like, I love that song. You can listen to it and be like, I want to listen to that again immediately. You know what I mean? You're immediately like, I want to listen to that song again. But then after a while, you can't listen to a song 100 times in a row and still be as excited on the 101st time as you were on the first or second or third time, right? So anyways, it's just comedy's just like a weird thing, but it's always new to somebody else, and that's the point. I can't say where I am, but I will say I knew going in that there'd be mosquitoes. And not everybody has the same situation with mosquitoes, the same issue that I do, but I've traveled to a lot of other countries where they have different bugs and stuff, and I know that, I don't know if it's my sweet blood or whatever it is, but mosquitoes want to bite me, and I hate it. I've gone on vacations with my wife, and before we were married, and we got on vacations, and she would get bit too. I'm not saying like she didn't get bit, but I would have, a solid 7 bites on each ankle. You know what I mean? And then my arms would also have bites and stuff. So my point is, I took precaution. I'm like, I'm going down here. It was kind of last minute, but I did have time to go to the store. So I bought all this mosquito repellent, right? I'm like, I'm going to spray this all over me. DEET. DEET is the ingredient that you need to get mosquitoes off you, right? So I bought stuff with 25% DEET and sprayed it all over me. I've been here 2.5 days. I have, no joke, whoever's listening to this, almost golf ball size swelling of like just the itchiest bug bites ever. I have on my left arm, I have 2 or 3, well 3, but like 2 of them are enormous, and then one's pretty big. On like my elbow-ish area, the inside of the elbow, the back of the elbow, the back of the arm, just enormous. If I pull up my shirt, I won't post these online because I'm not happy with how my body looks. But just enormously big, red, swollen, just, bug on my side of my body. I have one on my finger. I have on the other side. It's insane. And then this is the thing. I thought, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get this repellent, but maybe it doesn't work. So just in case I get a bug bite or something, or a bug bite or two, I'll get some anti-itch cream, right? I bought the most maximum strength anti-itch cream. I've been rubbing this shit on my bug bites all effing day. It does legitimately nothing. Like, it does nothing. I think it irritates my bug bites even more that I'm rubbing something on them. So I'm dealing with that. I got to talk about this. This is not going to be a long pod. I do not have a lot of time. I've been up since 4:45 in the morning. You're working when you're like, what time should I set my alarm? 4:45 a.m. And I set my alarm, especially in the past, like I just feel right now, by the way, bug bite on my face, a little bit above my jawline on the right side. So that's great. Just big swollen spots on my face, big red swollen spots on my face. So anyways, I set my alarm like super early in the morning a lot, but that's usually for flights, and that is a pain in the ass, but I was just so conditioned to doing it. You wake up at like 3:15 a.m., get ready, go to the airport, but then when you get on the plane, you get to just sleep. Then when you get where you're going, go drive, do the show, and then whatever, you could just sleep. This is like, I'm waking up at 4:45 a.m. to work a 13-hour day real quick, So anyways, I've been up. I'm going to crank this out for you. So I gotta just talk about this. If anybody, I'm 35, okay? The Karate Kid, I think the first one came out in 1983. It might have been 1982, but I was born at the very end of 1983, like almost 1984, basically, right? The Karate Kid, the Karate Kid 2, Karate Kid 3, I mean, these movies are just classics to me, right? And I know some people listening might be like, oh, I was never that into it, and other people listening are like, yeah, no, totally get it. The Karate Kid is iconic, and that's insane. Like, you listen to people who are in these movies and they do podcasts or interviews now, and they go, oh, did you know while you were filming it? The truth is, I don't think anybody knows while they're filming something if it's going to be iconic. I think that there's certain things people film, and I don't have that much experience. I've done TV shows and stuff, but I'm not like some constantly working actor who's always on, TV shows and movies and stuff. That's definitely not me. Not trying to pretend it is. But from everything I've ever heard, it's pretty hard to be like, oh yeah, this is going to be a classic that people talk about 40 years from now. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could be doing something and you're like, oh, this is good. This is really good. Like, we feel like this is really good. But there's a lot that goes into TV shows and movies. Editing is like one of the most underrated things. I just spent a lot of time today actually with the editors of this thing I'm working on, and working with them on, oh, do this and put this here and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what they do, you walk in, I don't know if anyone's ever seen, but the program that editors use called Avid, you just walk in, you see all these tiny little cuts, and this is cut, and this is cut, and there's a long cut here, and then this is cut, and then this audio is overlapping with this video, and then this audio, and you have this, and you're mixing this, and you're changing levels. You can just look at their screen and go, holy shit, you just did a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you think about the process, if it's interesting or not interesting, or you think it's boring, or you think it's cool, you can just look at the screen if you've ever seen any film editor work, and it's like, holy crap, you did a ton of work. Like, I just walked in and I can see you already did like so much stuff. So anyways, what was my point? Totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so the Karate Kid, iconic movie, right? And people, while you're filming something, it can feel awesome, and you can be like, man, we have a good cast, man, we have a good story, I bet this will be great, but you never know if you're gonna have like some iconic thing. So the Karate Kid is iconic, unbelievably iconic, to the point where Will Smith bought the rights to it just so he could have his kid Jaden do a remake of it. Great, whatever. I love how it's so iconic that people can be like, like people my generation can be like, that never happened, whatever, that happened, but I don't even need to think about it. And then I'm sure the people who saw that when they were kids were like, Jaden Smith is the Karate Kid. So the real Karate Kid is Ralph Macchio. And the show Cobra Kai, finally I got to it. The show Cobra Kai, which is on YouTube Premium. This is about to sound like I'm working for YouTube Premium, by the way, which I'm definitely not. This podcast I have no endorsements. I don't even know how many listeners I have, but it's not a lot, I don't think. But if you're listening, thank you. Tell a friend. So it's worth it. It is the best thing I think I've ever seen. And I told my buddy Ian this, who, if you guys know me from the ENG podcast, I do that podcast with my buddy Ian, and he's, being like, oh, I'll check it out, but he's also kind of like laughing at me like, oh, best thing you've seen on TV. It is it's so good. So it's not easy, guys. Okay, here's the thing. I've written scripts and stuff. I've never obviously sold a movie or a hit TV show, but if you make a movie and it's amazing, there's a lot of work that goes into that. There's a lot of people that are involved, and then it's amazing, right? And then us as a viewing audience, we're like, oh, do another, do one. I want more of that, right? You want more of that, but you don't realize it's hard to continue the story. And I'm sure the fact that they waited 35 years to do kind of like it's not a remake, but like a continuance of this story, benefited them. But these guys, I think it's a guy named John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg and Josh Heald. I believe these are the guys that, and I don't know any of them, that they wrote Cobra Kai, which is this YouTube show. These guys are killing it. Like I don't know them. They're not listening. I'm not trying to like get any, Jeff's talking about us. No, like no one cares. These guys are awesome. Like, I don't know these guys. What they did is amazing. They're continuing the storylines from the original Karate Kid movies, and it's fucking awesome. It's perfect. It's like the perfect thing. If you're a fan of the Karate Kid and you saw like, oh, this Cobra Kai show's on YouTube, and like in your head you kind of went, YouTube show? Like that's kind of cheesy, or I'm not going to watch that, or I'm not going to pay the $6 a month or whatever it is to have YouTube Premium. Do it. I'm telling you right now, you will not be disappointed. If you like the Karate Kid 1 and 2 and 3, which I know 3 was like kind of off the rails, but I still enjoyed it when I saw it back in the day. If you enjoyed that, you will love this. I'm 99% sure. It totally sounds right now like I'm endorsing this show, like for some weird reason, like they're giving me $20 to say this, but they're not. It is so good. The storylines that they've created, like here, okay, here's a little spoiler alert. Ready? Take 3 seconds if you don't want to hear any spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the whole show, and I haven't watched the whole rest of season 2 yet, but there's 2 seasons, and I've watched all of season 1. I'm probably like halfway through season 2. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Daniel LaRusso is now the successful like car dealership owner. He's rich. Daniel LaRusso, obviously in the original Karate Kid, was poor. And what's his name? Johnny Lawrence, who's William Zabka, right? He was like a rich kid, right? We knew that he was a rich kid back in the original, but we didn't know why. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to do like a full spoiler thing, but like you find out, they add to the story in a very awesome way why he was rich, why he was a dick, why he became a bully, where his life is now. He's like a big loser now. You know what I mean? It's so good. They bring in, at some point, this is a spoiler, so I'll give you a beat. They bring in John Kreese, Martin Kove's character, who is the Cobra Kai's sensei, later in season 1. It's fucking so good. The storylines with the kids, like they keep it the Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence story, but also they're totally intertwining and it's more focused on like these kids, and there's like a new crop of Cobra Kai, and Daniel's daughter is like really popular at first, and she's hanging out with the cool kids, and the cool kids are bullies, and like Johnny is the one who's neighbors with a kid who's being picked on the same way Daniel LaRusso was, and he's kind of like the Miyagi to this kid. It's so good. It's so fucking good. And anyone who says it's not, like, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not a big, I'm big on like, oh yeah, if you're an opinion, I have my own opinion. People have their opinions. If you think that this was easy to write this flawlessly, you're insane. And there's so many other storylines that crop up that are so good. So my point is I cannot endorse this show enough. And also, I just, total side note, happen to have two buddies who are my real buddies. I know on the other podcasts we get people going, oh, one of the hosts says that he knows so-and-so. It's like, guys, I'm not pretending to have any relationship with anybody I don't know. I'm a comedian. I've lived in LA for, all these years. I grew up out here, and I know a lot of comedians know each other, and some people are friends and some people aren't friends, some people are acquaintances. I've never exaggerated any of my relationships with anybody, and some people blow up, and it's crazy, and it's like surreal when it happens, because they were like your friend, and they've been over to your house, and they've held your daughter and all this stuff, and now they're like one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, and it is surreal. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It's so fucking, I get so annoyed that some people think that I exaggerate my relationship with people, but on this show, Cobra Kai, my buddy Brett Ernst, super fucking funny comic, friend of mine, was at my wedding with his wife. He plays Daniel LaRusso's kind of like dumb cousin who works at the car dealership, and he's awesome, does a great job. I'm not just saying that because Brett's my friend. Does a fucking great job. My other buddy, another guy who works at the car dealership that Daniel LaRusso owns, is my buddy Dan Adute. Wasn't at my wedding. I probably should have invited him. He wouldn't have shown up anyways. Dan's always got a lot of stuff going on. But anyways, Dan, super, super funny comic. One of my favorite guys to watch do stand-up. It was funny, a long time ago, Dan invited me over to his place to... First off, Dan was a guest on my last podcast, my first podcast, Guys Have No Game. And that is in the ethers of history, like it's gone. But it's nowhere to be found. But anyways, Dan's awesome. And Dan, it was funny, a long time ago, he's like, dude, you want to come over and write? And Dan is super, super funny. I don't know if Dan tours anymore, do stand-up, because he's always acting and selling shows and stuff, but... he's such a funny stand-up comedian, and he just works way differently than me. And I remember I was so excited. This is years ago. He asked me to come over. I went over to his place, and we sit down to write, and I'm just like kind of happy to have a buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, we're writing together. He was so meticulous. He had index cards, and he was like, the yellow ones are, bits that are already crushing, and the green ones are bits that are like good, but they need a little bit of work. And I was like, oh my God, this guy works so much harder than me. But my point is, he's fucking funny, and he's awesome in the show. He plays Anush, I think is his name. Yeah, Brett is Louie, I think, and Dan is Anush, and he's one of the guys that works at the car dealership. And Dan's, dude, like every scene. And obviously, like, if I am biased, I won't really be able to know. But I honestly think both of them, when they're in a scene, it's just such a break from like all the other stuff going on. They both just kill it, dude. They both kind of steal scenes, and they're awesome. And I'm so happy for both those guys. So, gotta watch Cobra Kai. I'm not just gonna keep saying the same thing over and over again. I also gotta say this: Ralph Macchio. I was curious. I'm like, how old is Ralph Macchio? Daniel LaRusso, right? Because he looked so young when he did The Karate Kid. And then Johnny Lawrence, William Zabka, I'm like, how old is he in real life? Because he looked older than Daniel LaRusso when they filmed it. If you remember the original Karate Kid, Johnny Lawrence looks like he's probably in real life, like, is this dude like 19, 20, And then you look at Ralph Macchio's character in the original Karate Kid, and you're like, is he 16? He looks probably like 16, I'd say, right? Maybe 15, maybe 17. So in real life, right now, Ralph Macchio, Daniel LaRusso, is 57. William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence, is 53. So Johnny Lawrence is 4 years younger than Daniel LaRusso in real life. That's insane to me if you think about the original Karate Kid. Now it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, they're both like older guys. And I gotta say this, technology is way better now, so you can see people's kind of flaws in their face, like all the HD stuff and everything in 4K and whatever things are shot in. Ralph Macchio, he's 57, and I'm not saying this guy looks like a male model or anything. He's definitely not. But to me, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, he looks like a 30-year-old guy who drinks a lot. Like, if that makes sense. Ralph Macchio looks like he's 32, 33 years old, and he kind of fucking, you know, goes to the bar and drinks whiskey too often, which is, it sounds like I'm being a dick. I'm not trying to be a dick. That's a compliment. This dude's 57. He doesn't look 57 at all. He looks like kind of like a rough 33-year-old, like maybe he's 40. I don't know. Anyways, these guys are so good in this show, and you really gotta watch it. Another thing I say about Ralph Macchio, and I'm again, this sounds like I'm shitting on him. I'm not. Like, I love this guy. He was great in My Cousin Vinny. He's great in The Karate Kid. He's just like an icon, dude. Like, this guy's, he's one of the few people, if I met, I'd be like, man, for some reason I'm getting weird. Like, I don't get weird. I've met tons of celebrities. If I met him, I'd be like, whoa, I can't believe I'm standing in front of Ralph Macchio right now. You know what I mean? So I like this guy. So I don't want this to come off the wrong way. But isn't it funny? He's known. Can you name another person who's known for being a karate person in movies, or a so-called tough, quote-unquote tough guy? Ralph Macchio's never been in any sort of good shape. He has like these weird hips. He's always been skinny. He's got like noodle arms. He's got thin legs, you know. He's never been in like even kind of like decent physical shape. But he's known as like a guy who kicks ass. And that's awesome. I love that even more. And again, like, I know I heard how that just sounded. Sounds like I'm making fun. I'm not making fun. I just think that's such a funny thing. Like, who are the other karate people you think of? Chuck Norris, in good shape. Bruce Lee, in good shape. Jean-Claude Van Damme, in good shape. Steven Seagal, like, in good shape. Not like not ripped like a lot of those other guys I just named, but like in good shape. Who's another karate? I mean, action heroes like Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously in amazing shape. Dolph Lundgren's in good shape. Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, in good shape. Like, all these guys you know from fighting movies are in good shape. Ralph Macchio, at no point in his life, looks like he did a push-up. I'm sure he did, but it's like, this guy never had like biceps. I mean, who's a badass in movies who has no biceps? Anyways. And not even like the skinny, ripped biceps, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes there's a guy in the show, Cobra Kai, who plays Hawk, who's Eli, right? And he's not a buff guy. He's really skinny, but at least he has like, you can tell he has like muscle. He's like toned, and there's like lines, and you're like, oh, this kid's skinny, like skinny ripped, you know? But Ralph Macchio never even had that. Anyways, I think Ralph Macchio is amazing. I think William Zabka's amazing. I love it. Just actor tough guy bodies in general. Even John Kreese, who's supposed to be like this sinister, fucking scary Cobra Kai sensei, he never had like muscles. He was never like a muscular guy. That was kind of like an 80s thing too, though, I think. Like, it was just like, oh, you cut their sleeves off, and no matter what, their arms looked like they were tough. Like Matt Dillon in some movies in the 80s. He's just the skinniest dude you've ever seen. Just like, oh, he has no sleeves. Well, I guess he kicks ass. It's like, what? He has no sleeves, and I can see his little noodle arms, but I guess he's tough because he has no sleeves, and he puts his chin up when he talks to you. So John Kreese, Martin Cove's character, he's kind of like that. And it's funny because even in Cobra Kai, where he comes back in, he's still not like he's an old man. This guy's, I think he's 73 in real life, but he doesn't have like, there's still like old man guys that are like have like big arms or something. He doesn't have big arms. You can just tell he's got like an actor face. A lot of people think like actors, I remember my dad told me like, yeah, actors have kind of big heads. They don't have big heads. What happens is they're on film, so they keep their body weight real low. So like if you're like a muscular guy on screen, that just means you're super skinny and you're kind of toned. because film stretches you out a little bit. That's what people say, like the camera adds whatever. TV cameras don't add weight. Film cameras do, because you're on film, so it stretches you out a little bit, so you look a little wider. So like, for instance, I'm not a big guy, but if I was on film, I'd kind of look like big, like up top at least. I have very skinny legs, but like I'd look like I was kind of like, I got some big arms or something. And my arms are not really that big. They're not like super skinny or anything, but like, anyways, you get it. So the actor tough guy body to me is always a funny thing. It's like the most badass looking dude. You're like, I can tell, I'm like, oh, in real life, that guy is 5'10", 5'9", and has never bench pressed in his life. I'm not saying he never has, but you get what I'm saying. So, all right, anyways, all right, last thing I'll say, I got to be where I am. I almost kind of gave it away, but I got to be where I am for over a month, and it is like, it's so weird. I've been touring since I was so young, and I loved it, and touring was so great, and now it's just, I miss my family so much. I've been alone on the road so much of my life, so much of my adult life, just been alone in a hotel room or in a comedian condo or wherever. And now I have like this amazing family. I love my wife more than anything. I love my kids more than anything. My kids are so adorable and so fun, and they're just, there's nothing in my life that's better than my kids. I would do anything for my kids. And my daughter's almost 3, and she's at that age where she can talk, and she knows when I'm leaving now, and it sucks. Like, my son is 15 months, and he knows when my wife drops me off at the airport and I kiss him goodbye, he immediately starts just bursting into tears, starts crying. And my son's not like a big crier, but he knows like, oh, dad's leaving, but he can't really talk yet, but he's pissed. Like, you could tell. My daughter's at a point, she saw me packing, right, for this trip. And she's like, and I'm packing a lot because I have like all my luggage out because I'm going to be gone for so long. My daughter's old enough to talk and old enough to know what's kind of going on. And she's like, Daddy, don't leave me. Daddy, don't leave. Daddy, don't leave me. Just saying this over and over and over again. Anyone who has kids knows how like when they're really little, just repeat the same thing. And I'm like trying my hardest not to cry because I have to be strong for my kids, right? And I'm such a softie, by the way. And she's like, Daddy, I don't want you to leave. And then she's like, don't leave me, Daddy. And like getting like sad as she's saying it. And then we're driving to the airport, and she's like, I don't want you to go, Daddy. And she's telling my wife, I don't want Daddy to go. I want to go with Daddy on the airplane. I want to go with Daddy on the airplane. And that, like, I can't even remember all the different variations of that she was saying, but I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying. And then my wife tells me as I'm gone, she went over to her brother's house and they were playing and everything. The kids were over there having a good time. And then my wife, Christy, was like, oh, we're going to go home. And then my wife texted me how my daughter, Leia, was like, is Daddy at home? Is Daddy going to be home when we get home? Like, this crushes me. Like, I'm doing something right now that is a potential huge opportunity for my career, and I need to do it, and I need to support my family. And it is just, I don't know, I always think about military people who go overseas for like months and months at a time. That's why every time I see one of those, military dad reunited surprise, reunion with his family at like this hockey game or this basketball game or whatever, I always cry. I've never not cried when I see that. So anyways, I just hope, because this is the thing, I told my wife the other night, I go, my dad owned his own business, so he worked from home. And so my dad was just always home. And like sometimes, it wasn't the best because he was trying to work and I was a little kid and I was bothering him, but my dad never missed anything. You know what I mean? My dad's awesome. I'm not saying my dad's perfect, but like Noah's perfect. But my dad never missed anything. When I did any sort of sport or anything, or my brother did, like my dad was there. If there was a thing like, oh yeah, parents should be at this, there's not one thing I can remember growing up where I was like, man, my dad didn't show up. That sucks. And there are kids that have that, and it doesn't mean their dads are bad. It just means like their dads are in a different job where it's like, oh, I can't get out of my job. I want to support my family and I can't make this. But my dad did make everything, and that just kind of makes it extra hard for me that I am missing so much. My son's 15 months old and I'm going to miss an entire month of his life. Like, I'm going to try and fly them out to where we are, or where I am. I'm saying where I am. But it's just like the idea of missing all that time with my little kids and just knowing that someday they're just going to be big and they're going to be teenagers and they're going to be like, oh, you're kind of lame, Dad, and I don't want to hang out with you. And I'm like, I'm trying to soak this up as much as possible, and it kills me. So anyways, I don't know how to end this podcast, but my point is, I love my wife and kids so much. I wish I could be with them all the time. Cobra Kai is honestly like the best thing I've ever seen. I know I said on TV. It's on YouTube. Check out YouTube Premium. If you liked The Karate Kid, you will be so happy. When I first saw this came out, I'm like, what are they doing? Don't mess with it. Don't ruin a classic. Like, are they ruining a classic? Like, that's what was going through my head. But then, of course, I'm such a big fan. I'm like, oh, I got to check it out. I checked it out. Unbelievable. So, to recap, I hate mosquitoes. They hate me more than I hate them. And love my family more than anything. And you guys got to check out Cobra Kai. All right. Email me if you want. It's in the show notes. And love to hear from you guys. Horrible at social media, but I'm at Jeff Keith on social media. GeoffKeith. All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to my daddy.